So, hello everybody. Welcome to the Total Recall podcast. My name is Will Bourne, the founder of Rekall, and we are joined by Tzipi Abu, who is the talent acquisition specialist from a cool cybersecurity startup in Israel called Valent Security. Hi, Tzipi.
Hi, it's so great to be here today. So excited.
Yep, I've been looking forward to talking to you because you're a breath of fresh air to talk to. So, hopefully, people that are listening to this in podcast, on the tube, on the commute to work, they get the energy out of your voice, and it helps pick up their day.
Thank you,
Yeah. So.
everyone. So good to be here. Thank you so much for listening tonight.
No, well, we obviously what I think of is a good topic to talk about because you obviously work for an Israeli startup in the cybersecurity space, and you're helping that organization post funding expand their operations out of Israel. So you're
Yeah.
hiring globally at the moment, I believe, in America, have done successfully so over the last 12 months that you've been there. So talk me through a little bit about what that's like, what it's like to work for a high growth, heavily VC funded cybersecurity startup right now.
Right. So I'll start with saying that I joined Valent Security about 7 months ago. So it's really joining a very young company that was established 2 years ago by two great founders. And really, one of my main goals is to expand the US team in really not only in Israel, but also outside of Israel. Right now, we're aiming towards candidates who are in the sales, marketing, go-to-market strategy, and really customer success. These are the roles we're looking for these days.
Mhm.
I will be very transparent and share that it's not easy. It's not easy at all
Mm.
because first of all, you need to learn a new market, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. It's a niche, right? And you need to understand exactly how those candidates talk and what would be the right approach to
Mm.
hunt these people.
Yeah.
And it is very, very challenging. And that is why I understand the value of using firms and headhunters who
Yeah.
literally live recruitment and know how to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the key challenges that you're kind of facing at the moment in hiring in America based in Israel? What are the kind of key challenges that you have to overcome?
So I would start with saying that working for a startup is very, very complicated because people are very scared of doing that shifting from, either a corporate or established startup
Mm.
into a young startup. I mean, we're still young, we're still small, we're only 30 employees.
Mm.
So sometimes it's really hard to like find those folks who are interested in joining a
Mm.
growing startup and understand
Yeah.
the value of being in there.
Yeah.
So I would say that this is my main challenge. Also, when it comes to compensation and when it comes to salaries, we can't compete with Palo Alto, we can't compete with Imperva, with Twislock,
Mm.
all these huge companies.
Yeah.
I mean, joining a young startup means that you're going to get a decent amount of equity.
Yeah.
You're not getting high salaries like other companies, and
Mm.
that would be another challenge that I'm facing.
Yeah. Convincing those people to kind of believe in the long value of a market event to realize their equity.
Right.
Yeah, one of the challenges that I have in conversations day by day when talking to salespeople and presenting them with a startup is, equity. It almost becomes like, oh yeah, equity. Everybody offers equity, but it's only worth something if something happens in the market. So, what would you kind of say to people to get them to buy into that bigger picture? How do you kind of overcome that objection when someone says, well, what's the cash package? Because I'm only more interested in the cash package. The equity is great, but it probably won't happen. What do you say to
Right.
that?
I think that eventually people who choose to join a startup understand that this is not where they're going to make their, biggest money, biggest numbers. Obviously, it would be way easier to just go to a more established company
Mm.
who has a solid um, financial stability.
Mhm.
We definitely see ourselves as a company that has financial stability, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
I think that when you decide to join a company like Valence, you understand that the impact and value that you can bring to the company and 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 for your career is tremendous. It's really, really big.
Yeah.
And these are the key factors that need to that need to be relevant to these folks.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think the angle that I typically learn, and you probably do this yourself, is to kind of give people an idea that what they put in and contribute will directly impact the value of the sale or the market event. And people are kind of somewhat um, not argumentative, but they challenged me quite hard anyway, to say, well, what's it going to sell for? What's the numbers going to be? And it's hard to say, because if you hire 5 people and those 5 people all hit 150% of their target, then it's going to be a bigger number. If they don't, it's less. But I think talking to these individuals in sales, to stay on topic as to what you're trying to hire at the moment. And getting the real value prop, the long-term goal, the long-term strategy, where it's going, what actually is going to happen with the market event, to help them really emotionally buy into it. I think is one of the key things to address with these salespeople. So I think for me, actually getting through to people in America at the moment seems to be an immense challenge. I think there has been an influx of people into the recruitment market over the last few years, because there's been a bit of a boom, and it's been a little bit of a sweetheart industry for startups,
Right.
because of obviously what happened post pandemic. Everybody rushed to tech, so obviously everybody rushed to recruit for tech. And now that's got a lot harder this year. A lot of companies are, in my competitive market, failing and are closing their doors. We've seen a lot of organizations in technology, especially in this last week with the Silicon Valley Bank situation, um,
Right.
pull the reins back and hold. So there are more recruiters, what seems to be calling and messaging fewer people. So for the people now that, because I'll put this to our America audience, this podcast, that are in sales, perhaps they're listening, how would you contact them? How would you message them? How would you kind of get them to respond to you? What would you say?
So actually, that's a great question, and really, in the last few weeks, that's pretty much what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on sourcing and really creating a better pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I'm trying my best to be very creative and personal when it comes to approaching to candidates. So let's say that I have a very solid candidate with many years of experience from really good cyber companies. I am not going to just send a very general message and spray and pray. That is
Mm-hmm.
not my type.
Yeah.
I'm going to try my very, very best to get his contact information and reach out by an email, and maybe, write a very personal
Yeah.
message and see if that would be relevant and if that person would be open for a very short conversation. I mean, it's not like you need to it's not an obligation, right? It's just about listening. It's just about
Yeah.
being open up. It's about not missing opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of my key factors is to approach to candidates who might say yes. I mean, the odds are for my best, for my favor. So let's say that I'm
Yeah.
reaching out to candidates from Palo Alto. Maybe they're sick of working for such big companies, for larger companies. Maybe they want to do the transition from a big company to a startup where
Mm-hmm.
the contribution is much more intense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one thing that struck me about you is because you and I, obviously, we sometimes screen share,
Right.
and you kind of, show me through the kind of candidates that you're targeting, and I do the same. Is your actual excitement and your energy and your passion to want to talk to these people? So, it's clear to me you don't spray and pray. You very carefully select people that you feel will be a genuine culture fit and a fit on paper for the kind of roles that you're trying to hire. And you almost take it personally, don't you, that they don't respond to you?
Oh God, it's so hard to feel ghosted, to feel like they don't
Yeah.
really. I mean, I
Yeah.
know they get a bunch of messages. I
Yeah.
know that. I mean, I talk to so many candidates during the week, and sometimes I feel so free with these people that I tend to ask them, wait, how many recruiters send you
Hmm.
messages like
Yeah.
on a week.
Yeah.
And it's not surprising, but I think the personal approach, the personal touch is very, very important.
Yeah.
And they need to understand that there's a person behind the screen. And you know what? Eventually, we're doing the exact same role.
Yep.
Me and
Yep.
that salesperson, I'm selling the company while they'll sell the product.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like one of the big things in my career, I've been doing startup recruitment now for many, many years. I've been doing startup recruitment for Israeli companies for many, many years. And one of the key pushbacks that I've typically had is around the culture of an Israeli company and an Israeli startup. Um, it actually, I remember back years ago when I did my own first startup, and I first started dealing with Israeli companies, and I first went there, and the person that I was talking to was put on a course on how to deal with Americans and how to deal with
Yeah,
Westerns
that's
because
the one.
because there's such a culture clash.
Um,
That's I think that's somewhat changed over the course of the last few years, but still there is in some cases a stigma attached to the culture of an Israeli startup and working for an Israeli company from the Western world. What would you say about the culture of your company? Not don't generalize Israel, just generalize your company. What's the culture like? Why would somebody from the Western world say, right, actually, that sounds pretty cool?
So we have high expectations when it comes to our employees. We're not settling on having the right people on board. Let's say that we can interview brilliant people and they have the exact skills that we need. But if there's a gap in the cultural fit, we're not going to compromise, and that is something that I definitely value about Valence.
Mm,
So definitely, the ability to be part of really a great culture,
yeah.
great company. I can tell you an example about today. There was an happy hour, and we gathered in one of our rooms, and
Hmm.
everyone brought their beer, and it was so cool to just chit chat and talk about the week
Mm,
and the plans for the holiday, because it's over in 2 weeks, and
yeah.
really just talk about anything that's not related to work.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that really encouraged me about our culture is that when I need to ask a question, whether it's a technical question or something about, I don't know, about valence, everyone is willing to help. When
Mm,
I'm sending, a Slack message and I'm like, hey, who's got a minute to help me with something?
yeah. Yeah.
So many people reach back. And that's exactly what I love about the company. And that's why I believe that Valence is going to crash it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Because it builds from the right people.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people buy into, especially working and reporting into a different time zone, into a different country, into a different culture, is that you have the setup there and obviously a solid onboarding process that people don't feel that gap. They feel like the team members are just sat over the desk from them, even though they might be thousands of miles away. Um, and I think it's encouraging that people getting into a tech startup are getting into a tech startup that is surrounded and immersed in A players, because the success rate of startups is quite low. Really, the failure rate is much much higher. And to get into a startup that's so heavily funded with such high VC expectation, to know that you're in a team of people that have gone through the gauntlet of your interview process and are in a company full of winners.
I tend to have conversations with employees that I filled just to make sure how they feel and whether there's
Mm,
a fit between what they thought it's going to be and how it's
yeah,
actually like what is actually happening at the day to day.
yeah,
My last conversation was actually 2 hours ago with one of our software developers, and I was very upfront and I was like, "Hey, tell me, you've been working at the company for like 3 months. How is it so far?" And he
nice.
said that this is literally the best company's culture he ever worked for.
Yeah,
Team, the collaboration, the ability to help one another
yeah,
and get help. Like it's not just about providing help, but also
yeah,
get it. And the fact that like everyone is working for the exact same goal, everyone is willing to do the extra mile.
hmm,
And it's beautiful when
yeah,
it's not just one person, it's everyone.
yeah,
Everyone understand why they do what they do.
yeah. And I can attest to that as well. Obviously, you and I have successfully worked together now, and I had the same feedback to the very same question at week 3 or week 4. So it's not just you saying that to self-gratify the company. It's legit.
Right.
Um, what's your perspective on the job market now? Obviously, you're talking to a lot of people in different roles and different time zones. What's your perception of the job market at the moment?
So the market is going through really hard times, and it's really hard to sit and look at what's happening. I'm trying my help to support and help with whatever I can, whether it's like helping with one-on-ones
Yeah.
and provide, preparations for interviews, like interview preparations, or, preparing CV reviews, whatever that I can assist with.
Mm,
I definitely think that it's going to be solved at some point. I mean, yeah, now with SVB and the mess that's going on, we're definitely going through hard times. It's not going to stay the same. I mean, high tech is extremely dynamic,
yeah.
especially when it comes to startups,
Mm,
and we will get out of it,
yeah.
I believe, by the end of Q4.
You think it's going to take until the end of Q4 to
Yeah.
settle down a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people have got a tough year ahead. There's a lot of people there who have unfortunately been made redundant of late. Every week I hear about a new company making big layoffs, and there's a lot of competitors of mine, like I say, that have been um, unfortunate to fail because of the economy thus far. What would your advice be? I know obviously you're very active on LinkedIn, and people that follow you on LinkedIn can see a lot of positivity and a lot of advice and guidance on how to conduct yourself at interviews, how to prepare for interviews, how to, keep positive amongst the face of rejections from interviews. What would your advice to candidates be at the moment that have either just unfortunately lost their positions or are struggling to get a position? What would you
Right.
say?
So to be very patient, to not lose hope, to be very strict about what you're looking and very focused on what you're looking for.
Mm,
To network. Networking is very, very important, especially these days when, there are so many applicants on one single role. To be very organized when it comes to really creating like a list of the companies you submitted your resume, really understanding who am I interviewing with and what company looks interesting to me, and to be very on top of things, and get help whenever you feel like you need help,
yeah.
whether it's like mental help, because
Mhm,
sometimes we need it, and when we
yeah.
feel depressed we can actually pass this feeling
Yeah.
through an interview, and we don't want to be in that position.
Mm,
And whether it's a professional help from, like, I don't know, advisors or
yeah.
anything that can really assist. um but it's going to end. I mean, just like everything in life, everything is temporary. So I believe that,
Yeah.
like, you need to breathe and remember that it's going to pass.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just another um you know
A blip.
tough situation that's going
Yeah.
to be behind you.
Yeah. I've been trying to talk to a lot of business owners over the last few weeks. I had a chat actually today with a startup in Israel. I said, "How have you found the last week? How has it been? How's your economy?" Because I think economy is a relative term. Economy can be his business. It can be this wider business of cybersecurity. And he was actually excited. I haven't spoke to many people who are excited about the economy at the moment, but he was actually excited to kind of almost repeat 2008 and then go into 2009, because he said when it comes back, it's going to come back big, and
Ex-
next year will be an awesome year in tech. And I took a lot from that. I obviously run a startup myself. They're obviously not as well funded as you guys, but I'm kind of trying to navigate what is a tough year as a business owner. Not just as a recruitment into the tech business. And I take a lot of confidence, and it gives me a little bit of hope that get through the year. Next year will be
Very,
good.
very comforting. A friend of mine asked me a few weeks ago, Tzipi, what do you think about firms? Like, what's going to happen in the next few years? And my first approach was like, it's probably going to a very bad place.
Mm.
But my point of view has changed, because
Yeah,
I think that we're so low, things has to go higher. I mean,
yeah,
things will get better no matter how you look at it.
yeah,
So it's definitely going to get better. And as you said, we're going to explode.
mm. Yeah,
Like globally,
Yeah, I think so.
worldwide. And
I
and I
think
and I can't wait for that.
it'll be exciting because a lot of the people that have been laid off now, that are the Google, the Facebook, the Amazon engineers, they are the next wave of startups. And the VCs, they do still have money. They're just being very cautious with it this year, which rightfully so. But they're better off investing it into a startup with some fantastic brain power behind it than sit in a bank and get not very much interest on it. So
Right.
2024 should be an exciting year for those who weather this storm and move into that.
Whoever
Um,
listens to this podcast and got laid off, I've been there like 8 months ago. I know how painful it is. And there was one thing that I forced myself to do. I
yeah,
booked a flight to New York, and I just wanted to do something for myself
yeah,
and look at this time
yeah,
as something good,
yeah,
something that can take me to a better place. And
yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
yeah. I think that's important as well. I think back a few years ago, a very similar situation for myself. I went to Spain and just went and lived on the beach basically for 3 months and joined a beach band somehow. Um, so what that gave me mentally gave me back. I would never have got had I have just stayed in and around Birmingham. And the same for you if you would just stay around, Tel Aviv. You wouldn't have got that kind of click out, reassess, click back in. Right now, I'm fired up, ready to go.
Exactly.
Mm,
And it's not going to, I mean, these times we're not going to face them again.
yeah, yeah,
I hope so. So we should do something good about it. We should we
yeah,
should give something to ourselves.
yeah,
And I can definitely assure you that if I didn't, if they wouldn't let go of me in the first place, I would never find myself in New York.
yeah,
So it all turned out to be a good
yeah.
thing.
It's just hard to see that at the time, isn't it? I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening who are in that unfortunate situation who are thinking, yeah, well, I'm not in that situation. I can't go to New York. I can't go to the beach for 3 months. I've got kids at home or whatever it might be. But there's still a release somewhere, where they can go and, like you say, network with people. There are a lot of support mechanisms out there that people aren't aware of. Um, and I would say the same as you. Explore what they are. Find the vessels of support where there are people in similar situations, that perhaps you can communicate with, who can share their ideas and how they're approaching it. Don't bury yourself and hide yourself away and allow those dark clouds to circle over you. Um, yeah, but we're getting a
It's
bit dark there now, so let's
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think I'll always remember the feeling I had back then when I got my termination letter,
Mm,
when I was like officially laid off. That was the first time ever I got fired, and it was rough.
mm,
It broke me. I
yeah,
was extremely depressed, and I decided to just feel whatever I felt
yeah,
and let it be.
yeah, yeah. No, I've been in similar situations. Where I've broken mentally, and I actually written a book about my journey back. Getting back on the surfboard and just riding the wave, not letting it crash down on you, and just accepting what the situation is.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, hopefully, a lot of people that are listening that have been laid off, get your brains working. Obviously, you're good engineers, you're good salespeople. Think about how you can perhaps do something a little bit different. Get your juices flowing again. But I think we're now running out of time, you and I, Tzipi. So I wanted to close with a question to you. Um, and I guess that is about working with a recruitment partner, because you are a talent acquisition specialist yourself. There are a lot of recruitment companies out there, some of which might be listening, who will no doubt probably call you, knowing that you're hiring in America. What is the value, in your opinion, to working with a good, legit agency? You've got a good track record. What are the things that you look for in a partner, and what makes it a good working relationship?
So first of all, we've been working together for like 7 months from the very, very start, and I enjoy working with you. I love our collaboration. I love our chit chats. I love, meeting you face to face. It was really great back then. And that's exactly how I see it. I mean, when you work with a customer, with the startup, for example, you need to be very dedicated. You need to let them feel like you're dedicated for their roles and you're on top of things when it comes to filling out their roles. And that's exactly how I feel about you. So if I need to sum it up, definitely someone who's approachable, someone who's available. I mean, I send you a message and you get back to me in like 10 seconds after, which is great because it reminds me of myself.
Yeah, yeah. Any time of the day, we're recruiting, you and I.
Exactly. And we're sharing our stories. I mean, you get me.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is really the quality, right? I mean, I don't want to get a bunch of resumes. I want things to be very strict and very clear. I want you to understand the job description and
Yeah.
my ideal profile and the culture, and send candidates who would align with these
Yeah.
categories. And that's exactly how it is. And of course, hires, right? I mean, we have our first hire, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So it makes me realize that it's not just about quality, but also about providing results.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody that perhaps is in the recruitment sphere and they want to approach startups, they want to get into this domain, it's all about collaboration, communication, and understanding of the culture, and what exactly is going to make a candidate successful in your business.
Right. Understanding the story behind the company, understanding
Yeah.
the value, understanding the product,
Hmm.
so you can deliver it to the candidates that you talk to.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm being told by Zoom that I'm about to get booted out of this room, so I'm going to let you go to your evening. I know it's a little bit later for you. So, look, I really appreciate you giving me some time. It's always good to see you. You always got a smile on your face, and you
Oh,
make me feel happy. So I will look forward to speaking to you next week.
thank you so much for having me today. It's
All
been
right.
it's been fun.
Awesome. Awesome.
All
Bye,
right.
Tzipi. Bye.
Bye for now. Bye
Bye.
bye.